Good morning, everyone. I would love to just start with a single quote because I guess kind of you might have noticed that we get mixed feedback on TYPO3 development right now. So there are people who go like, wee, it's going forward quickly, everybody's happy. And there's a lot of people who don't get what's actually going on. And somebody claimed 2 weeks ago that TYPO3 was evolving too fast. That gave me some thought. So I wanted to start with a short quote that I came up with, which basically, I don't know who's a comic person. I am. That's Storm from the X-Men. And that's a very, very interesting quote by the character, which means people are afraid of what they don't understand. So this is one of the topics we actually need to deal with in TYPO3. And so one of the general topics is, we'll go through these. So what do we need to do with the system as a whole? So we're not discussing tech for the first part. We're coming back to that later. So the first thing we want to achieve is we want to actually grow TYPO3 as a whole. That means more community members, more people contributing to the core, more stuff going on in the core, more functionality, more everything. The other important topic is that the core team understands that we need to help everybody grow their businesses. Because in the end, that's our duty, right? We're building a content management system to make editors happy. With a happy system, you have happy editors. With happy editors, you have happy clients. With happy clients, you have more clients in the long run. Then we need to work on like spreading the word. And this is something we lacked about in the past few years. There's a lot of satellite communities going on. So France has a very, very small but awesome community. The guys from Italy have one. The Dutch people, obviously, I think the Netherlands, we're good. But just last week, there was a completely new community popping out of nowhere, which was the guys from Greece. So we will be getting in touch with these as well and just helping growing TYPO3, spreading the word. And apart from that, we also want to increase visibility for the project as a whole. I don't know who's been using TYPO3 for more than, I don't know, like 10 years. There was it, which is also good. There used to be a time when you would simply go on Google, type in CMS, hit I feel lucky, and you would be getting to typo3.org on the general term. Personally, I think it's just because Google changed like their algorithm or something. But this is something where we simply want to get back to. Another thing we need to do is we need to make TYPO3 easier. I use the term easier. Technically, I mean the term accessible, but that's being mixed up with accessibility all the time. So a beginner should be having like less trouble finding his way or her way into TYPO3, working with the system. This is basically the same stuff, just revised. So now we're going to go onto the technical stuff that we plan to implement. The problem is that we're doing open source, which, well, technically it's not a problem, but we don't have a crew of engineers that are constantly working on improving the product. So we cannot promise stuff. We can just give you ideas of stuff that we want to do, where we got concepts for and anything. And basically, if anyone in the room thinks, we need this, get in touch with us, and then we'll build it together, because that's how open source works. Open source is not about downloading stuff for free off the internet. There are other portals for that, but it's actually about contribution. So I want to talk about marketing solutions for a bit. I don't know how many marketers we actually have in the room. Mostly it's developers. You what? So a huge topic that's going to hit, well, continental Europe in the next few years will be marketing automation. So we're talking about systems like HubSpot or Oracle Eloqua. Does anyone not know what these things do? All right. So what you do is that you basically automate your marketing processes, which is easy because that's what the headline says. But the idea is that we wanted to create an automated profile of your client as the client revisits the page over and over again. Because basically, marketing is not selling stuff. That's sales. Marketing is understanding your customer. understanding the demands of your customer, building a profile of your customer. And this has nothing to do with, well, it does, but it's not about, like Facebook profiles and such. Marketing is building a profile of your customer for the last 100 years. And it's even, if you go back to I don't know, like even medieval times, where the guys at the market will actually sell what their customer needs. And this is because they talk to them and they make a profile of their customer. What we can now do in tech is we can basically automate these things. And I just picked 2 examples because these are the bigger players in that field. And we want to build that together with like a central reporting about your customers, because that's basically what everybody needs, right? We can gather a lot of data, but you need these in a like visible or graspable form. And another thing that we want to do is supply automated channel monitoring, so you can like put your content up on different channels, and we can get all the information back from these channels. Because in the end, TYPO3 it's a content management system. You want to manage your content, but you also want to know what's actually going on with that content. Another thing we want to talk about is personalization, which is also marketing stuff, because you want to deliver the best experience to your clients. So in order to do so, we definitely need to think about personalized content. And personalization, that's not necessarily about the website telling you like, hey Frank, here's your content. That's not the point of personalization. But if you look onto a website on your computer, right? You have a site, and you scroll through it, and it works. So you know that your client is actually focusing on the content you're showing on that page. Imagine something like a feed. What you will do is you will go like this, and just like skim through your content, which means for a different channel, you need different content. You maybe need a different picture for that, shorter headlines, all these kind of things. In order to test this, actually, we want to supply like A/B testing within TYPO3. So the idea is that you can actually just set up 2 different versions of a page or an entire site, and TYPO3 will then determine by a certain percentage which sites get shown to which user. So classic A/B testing. And again, we go with like central reporting. You want to take pictures? I can lift the slides up. Did it work? Is it in focus? Awesome. All right. So the next thing we wanted to talk about, this is like accessibility in the term of web accessibility. Think web accessibility guidelines, like A rating, AA, AAA, all these kind of things. And we had this as a topic at the User Experience Week just last week. And I want to start with the good news, because I asked the team, okay, what does the core need to do in order to build AAA accessible websites? And the result is, we're done. So the core is totally capable of handling these things. The bad news is, the editors aren't. So with accessibility, the biggest problem is not like the technical stuff that we need to build, but it's about basically educating editors. So with education and manuals and all these kind of things, you would give, I don't know, like a printout with 25 pages to the editor, and the editor then has to, like remember all this stuff. And we came up with the idea, why not have TYPO3 help the editor while creating content? So the idea is that we will basically build a accessibility check on the fly as you type. So you have a small bar on the top of your content, and it will show you how accessible your content is. And on top of that, Batman over here is currently implementing an automated it does up to AAA, right? It does up to AAA. Perfect. Tester for accessibility of your website. So you don't have to go to an external service anymore. We just hook that right into the view module of TYPO3. You can take a look at your website, hit a button, and you get a result on your current content, which doesn't necessarily have to be published yet. And that's one of the biggest problems with every external service, that you can only test stuff that's actually been published already. So it has to be publicly on the web so that service can access it. And we want to break down that barrier. And we came up with with a very easy thing, because accessibility, if we supply all this help for editors, we'll get everybody who's interested in accessibility. Who's a pure marketer? Question? Perfect. So you might not be that much into accessibility, but you might be into SEO. So by simply applying the same principles, we can also aid editors in creating search engine optimized pages. Because it's the same thing. We need to check the content and give suggestions based on these things. So there's a couple of things we want to build in the core where SEO stuff isn't exactly the easiest to achieve right now. So this is where the core is not done yet. That's mainly stuff like link following and a lot of meta stuff that we need to add as an editors. But as well, it's the same as with accessibility. We want to educate editors as they go with the system. And we want to supply help to the editor. That's the entire point. And we want to supply reports so that we can see how is the page working, how is it evolving over time with backtracks and stuff. And there's already a Google add-on that we then want to put into a central dashboard kind of thingy. Another thing we want to talk about is content channels. I don't know. Is there anybody in the room who does actual multi-channel publishing with TYPO3? Ish. Well, multi-channel is a huge buzzword, but what it means in practice is you have your website and you deliver an RSS feed of your news. That's another channel. So that's how easy multi-channel starts. Or you pump out the same content as JSON to feed an app with it. Yet another channel. In regards to interesting things, what you can do about channels, I guess everybody knows AIDA cruises, huge cruise line ships. If you get into the cabin and switch on the TV, there's the media center of AIDA. That's run by TYPO3. And we asked them, why? Why would you do this? And they just, shrugged their shoulders and were well, it's content, isn't it? True. So multi-channel is indeed an important topic. The good thing is that TYPO3 has been doing this since ever. I started with TYPO3 2001. We actually created print brochures out of TYPO3 content back in the day. Then it was called cross-media publishing. And a couple of years later, cross-media publishing became uncool. Now it's multi-channel. It's the same stuff. So what we want to build is basically we want to build a layer on top of languages. Because now a lot of people, kind of misuse languages to create content for different channels. So in our installations, we have stuff like a language which is called English Mobile, because we use languages to deliver different content. And it's easier for the editor to understand. It's a nice hack. You can use it. It's easy. Problem is, if you do a tree with 60 languages plus channels, the language list gets huge. And what we want to do is we want to build a layer even on top of that, and also have visual augmentation so the editor can actually grasp that complexity. Because if you feed, 25 channels out of the same content, this needs to be understandable for an editor. Because otherwise, we failed at our jobs. We also want to supply fallback chains, which is basically the same you do now with language fallbacks. But we want to allow to fall through content layers or channels. And of course, you should be able to have dedicated content for a specific channel. Think Twitter with the 140 character limit. That's the most obvious one. So questions on the stuff we went through so far? Awesome, I'm still in time. So we have some tech stuff. As you might notice within the 7 branch already, we changed the paradigm to editors first. Because in the end, we have to admit this, we're not building cool technical solutions. We're building a system to help editors. If we don't help editors, we failed at our jobs miserably. So now into the tech stuff, we will be introducing a new rich text editing component. So we will be dropping the hideous HTML area thingy. Did I hear awe? Don't awe this. There's and we are working hard together with the guys from CK Editor. Some of you might know these, the component. And we want to integrate this into TYPO3. There's a lot of dark places in the core we need to touch right now in order to make that work. But when we got that in place, CK Editor has a pretty decent front-end editing in-place component, and I'll just leave the rest up to your imagination. There's an
There's also accessibility tool connected to CK Editor.
Exactly. That's why we chose the component. Plus, mostly because Fred and his crew were very open. We met at T3DD last year, and they were just like, "Let's do this." And we're like, "Cool." So we have it's like 5 guys from the core team are actually sitting in our Slack channels just constantly every week. They're going, "Okay, can we start? Can we start?" And we're still like, "Yeah, we're like knee deep in old stuff." And TYPO3, the old parts of the TYPO3 core are like a magic trick. You know that magician that goes like this all the time, and you just think of, let's just exchange that small component. You rip it out and you go like, okay, so where does this? And at a certain point, your first initial thought is just like, ta-da! So as well, just to keep the tempo up, we want to support content editing because that's our job. And that mainly with wizards. I don't know who of you has ever seen or has yet seen the translation wizard thingy we came up with in 7, which will basically just explain to the editor what's going on. Because this is something that we truly believe that makes sense. Help the editor understand what's actually happening. There are 2 more slides. Then we want to take the picture. And another thing that we're working on is basically unified lingo in the backend, which is extremely hard to do. So we have a 3-head team that's just like writing down all the messages, how the backend actually talks to the editor and keeps these things in sync. And we also apply principles from NLP, so we don't ask like questions that might make the editor insecure. Like, are you sure you want to delete this record? Right? So what happens? You click the button, the thing pops up, you read it, yeah, I'm sure I want to do this. In that moment, the phone rings, and you're in the phone call for 10 minutes, then you grab a cup of coffee, get back to your computer. What exactly was this record? So the thing is more like giving a reassuring feeling for the editor in terms of lingo. It's a very simple thing in theory, but it's a lot of stuff to do. And it also comes down to stuff like we have multiple like pop-ups going on with confirmation messages. You should pay attention to this. Sometimes the OK button is on the left and sometimes it's on the right. It's just like, why? Huh? No, it's mainly about keeping them, like focused, mentally challenging. And another thing that's actually done from a technical level is guided tours. So what you will be able to do, you can simply install an extension and then register your own guided tour within the backend. You know this maybe from apps. I don't know who has the LinkedIn app. I hate it. Every time I open it, it starts with the same freaking tour. And I always think, where do I skip this? And then it goes like, hey, let me get to your contacts. Well, no. But the idea of guided tours is basically that the TYPO3 backend will pop up and then show a message which goes like, hello, I've never seen you before. Shall I explain the backend to you? And then you can click on OK and next, and it will move around, and it will actually change modules, so we can guide the editor through creating the first page of content and helps with specific tasks. We kept the entire API open so that you can use that for your own extensions. Or you can just give a full-blown manual, an interactive manual, to your editors. I think that's wow too. Thanks. So let's talk about devs for a couple of minutes. Any devs around? That's a great question to ask at like 12. So what we want to do mainly is like reducing time to market with TYPO3. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done over and over and over again, and I think almost everybody might have his or her own standard default package, and you just like do 3 clicks and it's set up, but then it has like, I don't know, 25 settings you maybe don't need. We want to drastically remove settings because we think settings are stupid. Like TYPO3 should behave in a certain way which should make sense to everybody. So we're working on these things. I just realized the typo, there should be a space in between. So we also want to ease understanding technical complexity. Right? TYPO3 is a complex system. You can build incredible stuff with that, but it can get like kind of hard to understand. And we want to reduce the amount of technical necessities. So for example, until last year, your front-end developers had to understand TypoScript in order to move 2 tags around. And then dive through this, I don't know, 1,800 line TypoScript monster. And then we came up with fluid-styled content, which reduced the amount of necessity understanding TypoScript as a whole in order to get your website done. And we want to continue down that path to make that everything easier. We will not drop TypoScript because TypoScript's awesome. But we we simply want to remove the necessity to use it, to understand it, to learn it. Here comes the spooky stuff. We're working on automated code migrations. So whenever you do an update between several versions, TYPO3 will then detect all the breaking changes that happened in between, deep analyze your code, and actually tell you, you are affected by 3 breaking changes here, here, and here. And if we're able to automatically solve that, there's a button next to it. So we're working, for forget IMA, we're fixing your code. And well, that's the core people who built this. I just talk about it. And the other thing is that we want to add more and more backend config wizards in order to make configuration of things easier. Because right now, I don't know, who knows page TS config from memory? I thought so. So the idea we came up with is that you could simply do something very, very, it might seem insignificant, but field permissions for editors. I hate it. It's annoying. You need to know how the fields are called, and then suddenly you have like 3 fields. Everything is called layout, and you have no clue what's actually going on. So we currently are developing a prototype that you could simply like select a group and then say, I want to edit fields on the content element, and then you can like click them on or off as you go through the form, and then save that afterwards. And we want to build an instant preview of that, so you can just toggle how will the form look when it's like complete, admin kind of view, or how will it look for my editor, simply to speed that up. Because a lot of people simply don't do it, right? So they set up the user groups and go like, content table. And then they select like, yeah, he needs this field and that, and maybe, fuck it, I'll just take all of them. Guilty, by the way. And the entire point is, so the problem, obviously, the problem isn't that it's not possible to do, it's simply too hard to do. So we need to ease these kind of things. All right, then I want to get like a short stuff on DevOps. Maybe there's one of the DevOps guys there. Peter, I saw him already. Our entire DevOps approach can be combined into 3 simple words. Actually, I thought about doing the Steve Ballmer thing, but so the entire plan is to do Composer all the way, and this even like includes having a web-based UI for Composer as well. Because right now, in order to use Composer, you need to have command line access. There are a lot of people out there who are not, well, like acquainted with command line access. There's quite a few people I know that I would never give command line access. So the entire plan is to have like a UI for that. And then we could also get rid of this composer mode and non-composer mode thingy, because the extension manager would be a UI for composer. So it's the same. And another thing we want to do is automated upgrades on command line, which means that you can run upgrade wizards on command line in order to automate things. This is actually a request by the I don't know, it's an association, but it's an interest group of all high schools and universities in Germany, because they have this one high school which has 450 TYPO3 websites, and they have one full-time employee who's constantly just upgrading stuff. So whenever he's done with the first round, we already have 2 maintenance releases up his back, and he's like, all right. And I suggested using something like, I don't know, Lego Mindstorms or something, that they can move the mouse and click it automatically, because it's the same stuff all over. But the idea is to do all that on command line so you can automate these things. Same goes for installation on command line. Helmut actually had a working draft of it. I don't know if you know it, but he's installing an entire completely TYPO3 installation just on command line. It's awesome. So we made the entire install tool responsive for nothing, because you will go to the command line anyways. The last thing is, of course, we want to simplify deployments. That means automated, like copying assets from A to B, all these kind of things. We have the TYPO3 Surf product that we kind of revived. Well, basically Helmut did. So we will be sporting more products than just TYPO3 CMS. This is also why we want to stick to the CMS part in the name, because we have TYPO3 CMS as the CMS solution. We have TYPO3 Fluid. I guess most people know Fluid. Did you know that you can use that in any PHP project now without anything? So you can use it just standalone. We put this into a Laravel application. We replaced Twig with it, because I got front-end developers that I don't want to give access to PHP to. It's just, and this is another project. Then we're currently working on a new tree component, because we want to replace the hideous XJS tree from the backend because it looks ugly. Kudos to Dimitri. And we built a tree based entirely on SVG, and we want to release this as well. Maybe call it TYPO3. We'll see. And this is where TYPO3 Surf also comes into our product range. So we want to do more open source stuff, more modular component things that you can reuse in your own projects, even in your front-end stuff. Questions? As I said in the beginning, I cannot promise stuff. So who knows? Well, this basically depends on how much time the core devs can actually put into it, or if agencies and more agencies get the idea that sending a developer over to do stuff will actually speed this up. And currently our biggest problem is that TYPO3 7 is so successful that half of our core team is basically busy building websites. Which is a problem, because hey, can we do this new cool shit? And they're like, they can't migrate stuff 6.276. Like the clients want it, they love it. So this is where give me developers, I build you anything. That's the current problem. Well, not problem, challenge. Huh? I don't have that much time. And I think basically Ima will just go over through TYPO3 source code and go like drop this, drop that, drop that. That might not work. Any further questions?
We have a question. Recently I heard someone say that in 2 years most of the website will be SPAs, because it's SPA single page applications. Do you think?
Yeah, like honestly, like cross-media publishing is dead. You know, and now it's called multi-channel. Like people running around saying, "Cope, create once, publish everywhere." What's the difference to CMS then? What you do is you distinguish like content and presentation. That's the entire point of a CMS. So I don't believe in this single web application bullshit. The biggest problem is you can't log it properly because you just work with this hash bank stuff. You can't bookmark stuff. I don't believe in that.
But Google is already indexing it, and you can also...
Which is fine.
You can exchange with the hash. You don't have to use this hash navigation. You can make a normal links like TYPO3 with Venlo. It's no problem anymore.
Okay, what's the question?
The question was the question was if you also believe in this, and the question in addition to it, then maybe TYPO3 will be still be used as a RESTful API. Is there already some? Is this channel function the REST?
The thing is, there's an interesting talk about REST by Netflix.
Yeah.
I suggest that talk. Netflix simply removed REST from their APIs and they dropped network traffic by 90%. So I don't know if REST is like the overall solution to every problem. People like it's this Messiah's technique stuff. But the thing is, it's about we create stuff. Well, other way around. So if you build one page or websites, where do you write stuff? Most of the time you read from the system. The system will generate content and it will be read into your application. TYPO3 does that. TYPO3 is a source code generator. It's a PHP MyAdmin with a page tree, looking like a bit nicer. But what and field evaluations. No, but the thing is that TYPO3 can deliver that kind of content already. So this is, I mean, of course, I'd love to have a completely RESTful API to everything TYPO3 can store. There's also a concept for that. There's just no developer yet. Although I think that might be a task for a team, 3 to 4 people, half a year, focus on that. Of course, we want to do these kind of things, but I can't promise stuff. Andrea, stop tweeting your question.
Have you talked about the language overlays?
Yes.
But I can fill in the gap maybe. So we had a team at User Experience Week last week that were just focusing on writing down how multi-language should work. Because currently a lot of people complain multi-language is broken. Well, that depends on what you want it to do. As long as it doesn't do what you think it should do, you can argue like, well, it's broken. So the team is just working on finalizing a paper that will actually show what's going to work and what's no longer going to work. Because right now, TYPO3 allows to build like inconsistent data. TYPO3 is awesome with multi-language pages to mess up data. And the biggest problem is that we don't restrict the UI to the editor in order to do so. And we started this in the 7 branch already, where the page module will actually tell you when you have inconsistent data in a different language. And we will simply move that even further. That goes into translating assets, for example. Not only metadata, but the asset itself. And we already have a list of things that used to work that will no longer work. So for example, if you have connected, we got 2 new terms for that. We have connected content and free content in a different language. What will no longer work is that you have connected content and your original language has 3 images and the translation has 5. Because now it's no longer connected, Content starts drifting apart. And what we'll also supply is wizards that will let you disconnect all content on a certain language, because you might realize, wow, well, now we need to disconnect everything. You can do this now as well, but you need to get into every content element, remove the parent. It's annoying. And we want to have like a one-click solution to do that, but also supply the way back. So say you have like editors that didn't know about, they were able to connect content, and they simply tried to replicate content from a different language. Now they can easily truly connect it using a wizard, which will actually show, so this is the content elements I have in the current language. This is the defined default language. Which one is which? and then you're able to reconnect the content. And when we have this, and the important part is with this, I mean, when we have a defined behavior, we can then start fixing stuff. And the interesting thing, everybody says like multi-language with XBase is broken. Actually, XBase does it not half bad. XBase simply doesn't care about all the exceptions that the regular core handles. XBase is just, it's like a bulldozer. Translation, I'll straight translate it. But I got no content, I don't care. Just goes like a train. And this is stuff we can now fix because we finally started defining an intended behavior for that. That's on the multi-language stuff. More questions? I think you were first thing.
You talked about the need of developers and growing the community.
Yep.
How do you think we can bring this up?
Well, there's basically agencies that shared the same vision. So I have several developers free each Friday. So they get a day off, but they're still in the office. But we can plan them in the team so we know on Friday you will see the merge rate going up because we have like 3 extra developers available to the core. And this is now we're going into the sales situation.
Yeah, but this is the current pool of developers, and we need more developers outside of the core, the community to grow, and new people to enter the community, train new developers.
Exactly. This is TYPO3 Inc. stuff, and I don't want to take too much of Alain's talk away already. But the question is, if you hire a new developer, do you immediately think that person is part of the community? See? And this is where stuff kicks in like, sorry for the advertising. The MacSurfs guys just did like a code sprint. Where were you? You didn't sit at lunch, did you?
Next to Charlie.
All right. So the things. So for everybody else, the MacSurf guys did a code sprint at their location from Monday through Thursday, and simply got their developers in to work on the core.
Yeah, but there are also already developers who are already doing TYPO3.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want the new ones to also embrace TYPO3.
Correct. This is basically my first slide, right? So people are afraid because they don't understand TYPO3. So we need to make TYPO3 more understandable, because every I talk to junior developers all the time, and they all go WordPress, WordPress, WordPress. After a year or two, they develop into senior developers and simply look at like, what the hell was I thinking? Because they have no idea about clean code, and they simply go like, it's full of crap. Like, it's global methods everywhere, and not even a method, it's functions. It's like going Pascal all over again. And the thing is that if we lower the barrier on these things to make TYPO3 more accessible and more cool, hip, that's the tricky part, I think we will attract developers natively anyways. Fingers crossed on that one. Plus that this is when we need to reach out to the satellite communities. So for example, like the Greek guys, they have like a community of all the 1,000 people. And we were like, good to know. And they were, yeah, we're doing this for 10 years.
Okay.
Why didn't you call us like once or show it up at any event? Yeah, we weren't sure we were allowed. Of course you are. And personally, I give this like, I think with the 8 branch, we will be doing huge steps into visibility also for newer developers. And when we finalize the 9 branch, so when 9 LTS comes out, I'm pretty sure that we will be on top of the game again, simply because the system is faster than anything else. It's really interesting if you go see any other content management or any other PHP application that's went through a huge technological change and now compare the benchmarks. TYPO3 seems to be the only one that's faster than before. So take Magento, take Drupal 8, they work slower on PHP 7 than the predecessor did with PHP 5.5. What the fuck? And this is where I hope to attract developers, because everybody's happy with speed. It's like red ones go faster. And apart from that, I can just go to any event and try to tell people how awesome this is.
Yeah, but it should be a common effort. So also
Yes, please. My wife will be really thankful for that. I'm on the road, so for those who don't know, I'm on the road 200 days a year. And everybody can do what I do. It's just like go out, spread the word, talk about TYPO3, talk how awesome it is, show people how awesome it is. Because most people just go like, yeah, I know that's this old kind of thing, and then you show them tech insights, and they go like, ooh, interesting. Yeah, and everybody goes like, you should implement Symfony. And we go, Symfony should implement PSR7 first. Because we have that, and without that, we can't talk to each other. And currently, our teams is helping the Symfony team implementing PSR7. So, you know, things turn around a bit. But yes, combined effort, together we can move a lot more stuff, like maybe Jörg and I can. But Jörg, that's basically Jörg's task anyway. So I don't have to be at any event anymore. Jörg will probably, hopefully, take over sometime soon-ish. But that's basically the thing. So don't always just go to TYPO3 events. Attend SymphonyCon, go to FOSDEM, go to any code talks, and simply tell everybody how awesome TYPO3 is. Maybe, you know, like circumvent the bad parts. But we're removing these anyways. But yes, you had a question as well.
Yeah, well, I think my question is more for tomorrow. It's more insights on the multi-language stuff. See why it does things like when I disable content for French, for instance, it shows the default content, stuff like that. It's more of an insight.
Because nobody ever defined what's supposed to happen. It's so simple, yet people just forgot it. And this is exactly what this document is about. So what should happen if I do this? What should happen? Do I need fallback chains for different languages? So for example, if I'm on the Dutch side and I don't have content for that, should I fall back to the English one? Okay, cool. If I'm on the French side, I have no content. Should the same fallback occur? Yes, no. And this is something that currently doesn't work. Right now, it's a linear path that you have to fall through. And then you need to do stuff like, I don't know, like redirects in the web browser, web server, and blah. That's not exactly what you want.
So now it doesn't work, it only works like that. Make content.
The thing is, it doesn't work. Well, it does things, but exactly. The thing is, every bug is critical if you're affected by it. So from your perspective, truly, it doesn't work. It doesn't work in your use case. And this is also a common effort to define all the use cases together. So what we will be doing, we will be publishing that paper on multi-language handling to the community. And this is a topic for discussion, right? Because it could be that all the 25 people involved got everything wrong. Totally possible. And this is why we need information from everybody. We need feedback from everybody. Read through this. I ask you to do so. In order we can make sure we don't mess things up.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mathias, as I already said, I'm talking about tech and everything. I'm very blunt, end user, and following TYPO3 a little bit for a couple of years. And I must admit that in the beginning I thought, well, TYPO3, this is it. I don't need to look any further. About 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 7 years ago, there was a moment that I sincerely got a little bit doubts about it.
Same here.
How everything was developing. And I must admit, now that we're facing for us a very important decision, whether to build on top of TYPO3 or do something with Django or whatever all options that are over there. I must admit that the way everything's handled at the moment, the community, gives a lot of trust. How you focus on added value instead of just tech solutions.
You're welcome.
Pragmatic approach. The community in you're obviously connecting with other teams like CK Editor. There's humor, there's leadership. It's going fast. Just keep on doing that. Gives lots of trust for end users.
You're welcome.